Oh yeah, here we go. I should have used the Captor X. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. Today in the studio, we're checking out the Torpedo Captor X. So what exactly is the Captor X? Well, it's the thing that lets you use a 100-watt tube amp without making your ears bleed. So the Captor X is from 2Notes. This is a small box that you pair up with your tube amp. Now this box lets you use your tube amp in a bunch of really flexible ways, so we'll get to that in a second. But right on the front it says reactive load box, virtual cabinets, attenuator, and IR loader. Yeah, a ton of features in this small thing. Let's take a look. Now before we plug it in and show you guys exactly what it can do, let's check out the front and back panel so we can see the connections and how to use this. So on the front we've got our master output level. That's pretty self-explanatory. We've got a voicing control, which is kind of an overall tone control. So if you take it out to a gig and you're like, ooh, all my settings sound a little bit different than in my studio, you can quickly use the voicing just to kind of match the room. So really handy feature. The space is for your reverb or your overall kind of width of your sound. Now, excuse me, we've got headphone output, which means I can plug in my 100-watt dual rectifier and listen to it silently with headphones. So you still get all the great amp tone, but through some headphones. Awesome feature. Then we've also got a high and low input, so you can avoid peaking, and you've got 6 presets. Now on the back side, we've got all our main ins and outs. Let's check that out. So on the back, we've got obviously our power control. We've got our left and right XLR inputs with the ground lift. We've got the fan to keep the unit cool. Now we've got speaker in. This is the red connection. So you're going to plug your guitar into your amp. From your amp's output, you go into the speaker in. Okay, and from there, we can go to the computer, we can connect with Bluetooth, all sorts of things. But if you want to connect to your cabinet, you use the speaker out, and the center control here, you see full and low, that's the attenuator. So again, you can take my 100-watt amp and play it at bedroom volumes just by using the attenuator. So that's another really great way to use it. And then we've got USB and MIDI control. So really, really cool. So the first really clever way to use the Captor X is in a more traditional setting. So you have your tube amp, you've got your favorite condenser microphone and your favorite cabinet, and you want to record, but your 100-watt or 50-watt tube amp is way too loud. Use the attenuator switch to bump the volume down, which means you can record without shaking the house, without annoying your neighbors, but still get all the great tube amp tone. Now I've been using this for about 2 months, and you guys have actually heard it on the channel a bunch of times, so it sounds fantastic, but let's plug it into the computer and see what else we can do. Now on that first track, I was using the SCHECTER Silver Mountain plugged into the dual rectifier. Now I've got the RELISH TRINITY plugged into my stage right 30-watt tube amp. So you can still use it with lower, wattage tube amps. So I'm going from the guitar into the amp, from the output of the amp into the Torpedo X, and then using the XLR outs into my audio interface, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. So you still get all that great tube amp tone. You can crank it right up and nobody can hear anything other than, my studio monitors, or I could use headphones if I wanted to. So you're using, that full cranked up tube amp tone, but without any noise. So let's check out the software. Now, these patches are going to be available for anybody who wants them. So the first one here that I'm using is the DBG Warm Amp. So again, we'll make these available, maybe just even as a starting point for somebody. So really cool. Anyway, so we've got the Randall Signature Series 4x12 Celestion greenbacks, okay? And then a bunch of different mics you can choose. And obviously, as you can see in the picture here, we've got 2 mics. You can move them, left, right, closer, farther, all those things. And then I've got a ribbon mic here. And that's it. So I'm not using the EQ section. but you definitely could. And on some of my other patches, I'll show you that we do. And the enhancer here, off and on, and you can collect that. And then some verb. And there's a ton of different verbs to choose from. Studio A, B, you guys can see them here. Tons of verbs. Let me just call that up again. Awesome. So this is one of my main patches. I think it just sounds really great. Super warm tone. Then the bridge pickup. Really great sounding amp. Now, if we go back actually and look at our first amp, this is what I used off the intro. Now, this is very, very cool. I'll just show you guys the information on this one too. It's called The One. So a combination of a 15 and a 12. Really, really cool stuff. And again, here's my mics that I'm using. But the killer feature on this is the twin tracker. So that means it basically sounds like two guitars at once. So I wasn't double tracking that intro. I was just simply clicked the twin tracker, and again, you can turn it off and on at will, and it just sounds amazing. Really cool kind of sound. And again, if I turn that off, still sounds absolutely fantastic. But it just gives a really thick sound. Now, if I were to double track, you can use this Entropy knob to kind of control the tightness of your tracks. So I would probably sound something more like this, 77% on, and you can hear it so much looser. But if you're like a good studio musician, you probably be back around somewhere in the 20s. So that's one killer feature with the Captor X that, I haven't seen on anything else. And really, I'll talk about this when I wrap it up, but the Captor X is like half the price of anything else. And it's got so many features, just insane. So anyway, love that. So you can have a noise gate here. You can see it's on because when I was doing that intro, I definitely, was on the boogie on channel 3, tons of overdrive, but you can turn it off as well. So there's your noise gate, off or on. And again, here's your mics. You can choose a bunch of different ones that change the tone, the axis, the distance, you can move them around and all that kind of stuff. So very, very cool. And let's check out some of the other ones. So we looked at the warm amp, we looked at the double track. So here's mid crunch. Now here you can see I'm actually using the EQ section and the enhancer. And again, you can just click them off or on if you want to, look at them. So that's really cool, and I'll give you guys the information here. So the fastback, looks like we've got greenbacks 4x12. Awesome. So as you can see, we're cutting 120, 360, and we're boosting 800. So that gives you, let me go to the bridge pickup here. Now, if I take the EQ and the enhancer off, it sounds a little bit warmer. You turn them on and you really get that, perfect kind of like 70s kind of classic rock tone. Love it. So let's try the next setting here. We've got the vintage treble. So again, a very different tone. So we've got vintage 30s in a 4x12, and if I play that for you. And even from the EQ section, you guys can see, we've got 2K up and 6K up, and compared to, the previous one, go back to the mid crunch just so that you guys can hear the difference. Where are we? There we go, mid crunch. Then change cabs and go to our vintage treble. Great tone. Okay, so let's jump over to, DBG scooped, yes. So let's do that. I'm going to turn the output up just a little bit to kind of match it. So I probably would maybe go to something with a little bit more gain, but I want to keep my tone relatively the same so that you guys can just, hear the difference between the cabs. So that's the scoop. And again, here the EQ section is in, so you can see we've got that 800 hertz way down, some of the other ones up high, and then not as cut on these ones. So that really gives it that, that really great. And again, you get all the sustain and all the, the distortion and the character from the tube amp. Really cool. And then the last setting here is the atmospheric, DBG atmospheric. So, tons of verb on this one. Let me just play something for you guys real quick. So the versatility of the Captor X is pretty mind-blowing. If you like to record in a traditional way with mics and cabs, but you just don't want the full volume, plug from your amp into this, use the attenuator switch on the back, and you can knock the volume way down while keeping your amp in its sweet spot, right? Using just preamp for a distortion, not every amp sounds great that way, but you take the master and you go up to like 6, 7, 8 with the preamp, so you get the preamps and the power amp tubes working together in that sweet spot, you get awesome tone and you don't get the volume. So that's number one. Number two, all the virtual cabinets and mics and everything are absolutely incredible. You got verb, you got all the mic placements, all the cabinets. It's insane. So, picking 6 was hard, but these are sounds that I'll actually use. So pretty cool. And then of course you can always just use the headphone out. If you're not recording, but you just want to use your 100-watt Marshall or something like that, plug into this, use the headphones, and you've got silent practicing. Now I was using the USB out from the Captor X into my main recording computer, and that's how I interfaced and changed settings and all that kind of stuff. But you can also use Bluetooth. So, tablet, phone, or just again use the USB into a laptop and take all your sounds on the go. Really cool. And if you don't want to connect to anything at all and you just want to take this to a gig or whatever and have some of your sounds, you don't need to. You can save them all and you got 6 right there and kind of use your 6 main tones. Now, after having used the Captor X for about 2 months, I've got to say this thing has become a very important part of my studio, especially with, the COVID stuff coming through. Families are at home if I want to record with my tube amps at night or just while other things are happening during the day. This thing has saved my butt many, many times because, like I said, you can crank up your amp, plug into this, go straight into your computer. No one else hears anything except for, studio monitors or headphones. They won't hear anything. So yeah, it's saved my butt a bunch of times. And I've got to say, the Captor X is like half the price of that other amp top box. Like half the price, maybe even a little less than half the price. I think it's $550. And what an amazing studio tool. And like I said, I really love it. I use it on almost all my videos right now, whether I'm recording traditionally or straight into the computer. Either way, I can crank my amps, get awesome tone, but without the volume. So there you guys go. I can easily recommend the Torpedo Captor X. I'll link to it in the video description below. If you guys want all the information and specs, you can check it out there. But there's nothing, weird or unusual about it. I mean, Two Notes has been doing this stuff forever, and it shows. This is a very polished product. It's easy to plug in, easy to start using, and as I mentioned, super flexible. Love the price point, especially in comparison to the competition. The price point is absolutely killer, and it's got more and different features as well. So really, really cool. Love it. So as I mentioned, the guys from Two Notes asked if I'd be willing to send my patches over to them so that you guys can download them if you want to. So I've done that. I'm not sure when they'll be available, but hopefully soon. You guys can mess around with them. Hopefully gets you started in the right direction. Other than that, have yourself a great day. All the gear I used and all that stuff will be in the video description below if you guys want more information there. Other than that, have yourself a great day.